parents often mean well, right? And they're trying to do their best. But sometimes the patterns that we learned as kids that we are doing without thinking why we're doing that and being reflective about it causes a lot of problems and even causes fissures, right?
Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. I am TD Flenaugh. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success.
Thank you for joining us. So tell us, Miss Moseley, what has been going on with you?
Well, I just did my first parent-teacher workshop for the year. I had this idea that I really wanted to help the kids over the summer to prevent that summer slide. And I wanted to partner with the parents to come up with some strategies to conquer the homework hill. Now, that's how we presented it. That's how we talked about it amongst ourselves with the adults. I didn't want to say that to the kids. I didn't want to talk about, I didn't want to call it homework because that just doesn't sound fun. Homework, work, you're going to do at home. But more, I wanted to present it as fun games and routines to get into to help you so that when the summertime comes, you'll have some great games and things that you can do to help keep your skills sharp for the following school year. So that's how I'm talking to the kids about it. And so, we've been meeting and playing games and doing all kind of fun activities to kind of model for the parents how easy it is to learn. Yeah, and it's been great.
Yeah. When we're thinking about the homework, what are those fun activities that you're doing you don't want them to consider to be homework?
So I came up with this idea. It wasn't really an original idea. I'd seen it somewhere else, but I've kind of tweaked it a little bit. Do you remember the game Go Fish? Remember that, right? Okay, so I asked my parents if they knew Go Fish, and they are a lot younger than I am, and they were like, is that an app? Is that on my phone? No, it's actually a card game that we used to play back in the day. And the idea of Go Fish is that you are trying to make a pair, right? So you have your cards and you ask your partner if they have a card that might make a match with what you have in your hand. And if they do, they give it to you. And if not, they tell you to go fish. And then you pull out a card out of the pile. And if it matches, then you get your points by matching your sets. So with the parents, we said, okay, let's think of the type of high frequency words or tricky words that the kids need practice with. So we're going to make a set of tricky word cards where the kids are going to now play Go Fish with their tricky words. And so we even had some first graders come in and model for them, and then the parents played amongst themselves. And, we talked about the different ways you can modify the game. You could read with your child, and every time they miss a word, you're keeping track of the words that they're having struggles with, words that are unfamiliar. And then you're going to use those words in your Go Fish game. So all you need is 20 cards, and you find 10 words. You double the words, you mix them up. Every player gets 6 cards each, and you play the game. So, we talked about if you have younger kids, you might want to make alphabet cards where the kids are asking, do you have a C? Yes, I have a C. Oh, great. Do you have a D? No, Go Fish. And so it was a fun, easy way to practice skills that we want them to maintain throughout the summer.
And so if kids aren't reading yet, what is a way that could be modified for them?
So we did talk about kinder and, just even knowing the names of letters. I don't know how it is in different districts, but in our district, we have a program. It's a great program. I love Amplify Reading. But the program does not really focus a lot on letter names. Like I grew up having to know the names of a letter, whereas this program really focuses on the sounds because you don't really know, you don't need to know what the letters are in order to read, right?
Yes.
However, when you ask a kid, like I asked one student, said, Sophie, do you have a F? Are you Sophie with an F or Sophie with the PH? And she was like, I don't know. So I said, are you Sophie with the F? And she was like, oh yeah, that's in my name. But she didn't know the letter F. Like what was not the name of the letter was unfamiliar. So it was just a way, kind of dawned on me that that's something that we take for granted. But a lot of kids, they don't know the names of the letters. So making Go Fish an alphabet game was very, a quick, easy way to, make an assessment, see what letters your kids don't know and use those letters as your playing cards. So
I really like your ideas, because it's showing parents how to be responsive to their students' needs, right? Now, they don't know the alphabet. So you are doing a Go Fish with the alphabet. And like you're saying, if they're kinder, it might just be 10 letters that we're starting with. And so that we could just have 20 cards, right? Because you're going to write the A twice, the C twice, the F twice, whatever it is that they are practicing with. And then for older readers or kids who are reading, that you're reading with them and you notice they don't know the word are, they don't know the word then or the, and so you could put it on the card and help be responsive to their needs.
Right.
And that's something that the teacher could see a difference with and they could see a difference with. And again, gamifying the learning turns it away from, obviously, to learn something, you need several practices, right? You need several exposures, several ways that you have interacted with a concept or an idea, right, to learn it.
Right.
Some kids need a lot of different exposures. And of course, we know the old school way of drill and kill. This takes it out of drill and kill and we put in the thrill, right? So they have the fun of learning by gamifying, right? Gamifying their learning. So it makes it totally different. And another thing I know about when kids are in a game is that they really stretch themselves.
Right.
Because they're having fun, they will challenge themselves to do more than they've done before. Yes. You could play the game longer than you could just go there and let's do flashcards. You're going to write the word A 20 times. You're going to, it's like, how many times do I have to do this? Rather than, let's play again. I think I could beat you next time.
Exactly.
And so that's really something tangible that we could see in our kids' lives, because we know that the biggest thing that they fail at, do you know something that they fail at over and over again and they still want to continue to do it?
It's video games.
Video games, right? They will die. They will lose their points. They will have to start it again. But they get that dopamine hit of the win, of, beating that certain level. And they want to do it again and again without us, stopping them. They will play, overnight. It's just, they'll do it instead of sleeping, But if we're not capturing that, then of course we're at disadvantage, right? What we're doing is boring.
The Rewrite Method and the Rewrite Method Workbook are your go-to resource for helping kids to learn to fall in love with writing. It has the tips, tools, resources, strategies, and skill-building activities to help kids fall out of writing hate and into loving to write. Get your book set today.
If we're not gamifying, at least sometimes, they are, fiending for that video game and tired of this thing that we got them going.
And what I love about, this is one of the many games that we're going to be doing over the next several weeks. It does not involve screen time. they're on the screen a lot. We have gamified a lot of their phonics practice and things like that. But it gives them a different way to exercise their brain. I even noticed, so we had index cards, right?
Yeah.
I have little kids, they got little hands. And for them to have to hold their cards, at first we let them put the cards on the desk because it was hard for them to kind of like manipulate holding the papers. They're falling on the floor. But I just noticed even in their desire to not let their friends see their cards that they were like, no, I want to pick my cards up now because you can see what I have. And just the care and the manipulation of the cards in their hands, I thought, oh, this is really good exercise for their fingers. Because a lot of times we talk about how even holding a pencil, is difficult for kids because their hands aren't strong. Like, I don't know if it's just this group of kids that are coming up in a world that they don't get a lot of outdoor play like we did, right? Throwing rocks, making mud pies. But there was something very interesting watching them decide that they wanted to hold the cards and the struggle of like fanning them out and being able to see them and all that. This is like, oh, I think this is something else that they're developing that I never even would have considered while I was thinking about the game, but still a benefit for them.
I think parents, sometimes don't know because I didn't know. I know when I was, my daughter was in kindergarten and I was more of an upper grade teacher. And, I was like, you could just color in this part. You don't have to color in all of that. And the teacher, when I talked to the teacher, said, well, no, their little fingers get tired. Their hands get tired, cutting, coloring, writing. And an activity such as coloring builds those skills.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is something that they could do at home. And we're talking about screen-free things, right? Which also is important, right? Just coloring sometimes with your child is something that will help develop their ability to write. Because, when we ask them to make the letter N, if they don't have a lot of experience using their hands, that N could come out like that straight line is crooked and then you want them to curve it. And it's like, it's very challenging because they weren't using their hands like that. And those muscles are not really fine tuned.
Exactly.
And so that's something else that's fun, right? I like coloring and decorating or whatever, rather than, other homework that we might see as traditional homework for the littles. Yeah.
Right. So it's going great. I'm very proud of my kids, and this homework that's like non-homework, it's the practice. Another thing I wanted to make sure the parents understood was that we're building routines, and in building those routines, we're establishing a sense of helping these kids develop that sense of learning is not just something you do in school. We talked about, because we want this to carry on into the summer, because that's where we're seeing like this big, huge summer slide. They come back at the beginning of the school year and you look at their scores from the end of kinder or first, and it's just a drastic difference, right? So allowing kids to feel this sense of ownership of that I have a designated time, I have a designated place where I practice, and it's fun, and I can create my own games, and I know the skills that I need to sharpen in order to stay on top of my learning for the summer. So we definitely talked a lot about practicals like, hey, let's have a homework zone or a practice zone where it's a distraction-free area in your home. You have all the supplies you need. You can set a timer. We talked about it's 10 minutes a day, 10 to 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
That's a very doable time period. And you set it at 10 minutes. Now, if it goes longer because your child is enjoying what they're doing, then don't stop them.
Yeah.
But just giving them that, hey, you're going to have 10 minutes of sustained reading or writing or playing a game or whatever the thing that is that they're going to schedule out for them. But just make it consistent and get into a really good habit. And let's revisit at the end of or the beginning of the next school year, and let's talk to those kids and ask them, how did your practice time go over the summer? How did let's look at those test scores at the beginning of the year and see, compared to those kids who maybe their parents didn't come to the workshop and didn't agree to the practice zone, conquering the homework hill.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to see what things, how it turns out.
I really like that you're talking about partnering with parents because sometimes we miss that, as educators, and we're just like taking on everything ourselves. And I've actually been told by some administrators, like, we cannot rely on parents at home to do things. And of course, it puts everyone at a disadvantage if that's my mindset.
Right.
So I may not approach you with problems or challenges. And if you're a parent that doesn't have an education background or strong education background or whatever, some people even have an adversarial relationship to learning or school because we know historically there have been some challenges with schooling.
Right.
With different populations of people.
Exactly.
Poor people, Black people, brown people, there's different levels to it. It's not just like one segment of population, but there's several reasons why you might have an adversarial or a, just a very problematic past with school, right? So it's really good to think about being a partner to the parents, because that's also from the mindset that you are bringing something of value, right?
Right.
To your child or your family life, whatever it is. And it may not look like school, but it still has some value and it still can affect what goes on at home.
Right.
And talking together about what that might look like, and parents designing something that works best for their family and talking to them about it is really going to be a win-win for both schools and home life.
Right. And the parents that came, it wasn't a lot of parents, but we are, I feel like we're creating something. So I tell the parents, look, we're going to do this again. And if you enjoyed it, bring a friend, bring, that parent that you've already connected with and, you guys are kind of friendly, ask them to come with you next time. And we set it up so that the kids get to have lunch with their parent on Friday. They get their name into a raffle if their parents come to these meetings. So we're trying to really make it something that has some incentive for the parents.
Yeah.
I was even thinking about going to our local communities and asking them to make some donations of gift cards. Let's do a raffle.
Yeah.
Every time you come, you put your name into a raffle and we'll raffle something off. Little things, but just ways to say, hey, we really value the parent. We really want you guys here. We're willing to bribe you. And then once you come, you're going to have a great time when you get here. And then you're going to just be like, oh, I'll just come even if there's nothing going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another part of making school, blending school and home life, because the community is part of home life too, right? So asking for some businesses to give and contribute will also help incentivize parents to work together with the school, and for kids too, because it's like, oh, I love going to this particular place, and here is a gift card that we could go there. And I could get rewarded with this gift card if I do these particular things. And it just blends well, school, home, community, and everyone's working together, because our kids are our future leaders. They're going to be shaping policy. They're going to be inventing new things. They are going to be the people who are providing services to us. And so having our children have a well-rounded education is, again, just enriching our society overall.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. Just like a published author.
Oh my goodness. So and one more thing that I could say about my book, right?
One more
since
thing.
You brought it up,
please.
That the book is the origin story for why I started the Falling for Learning podcast. You go if you look at the book, you'll see so many challenges that my parents had as they were raising me. And it's fictionalized account, so it blends the real. protects the innocent. No.
Mhm.
But, parents often mean well, right?
Right.
And they're trying to do their best. But sometimes the patterns that we learned as kids that we are, doing without thinking why we're doing that and being reflective about it causes a lot of problems and even causes fissures, right? Where
Right.
the families are not communicating with each other. They are just in constant conflict, right? So this podcast is here and we have multiple voices and experts that come on the show to give some insight and information. And we really are offering these ideas and strategies and resources. And please reach out to us, right? If you have tried any of these things, if you have questions about things, and we have had people do that. And so, tell us if you use this goldfish activity and how it works in your family, and what are some adaptations that you made to support your child, right?
Yeah, I want to know. I definitely would love to hear about different people's experiences. And I think next time we meet, we might have some fun things that we can even put a link in the show, and people can download it, or or download the directions, because I want to make it things that you could make with common things you have in your house. You don't necessarily have to buy
Yes.
anything. Make it very
Yep.
simple. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so those parents and educators, again, thank you for joining the Falling for Learning podcast again, and do something today that is going to give your child the competitive advantage. Thanks again. Have a great week.
Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning, or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.